It was a beautiful, beautiful blue morning. It's one of those days that you're like, I really don't want to be in school.
A beautiful day. I remember I flashed back and it was just a very beautiful fall day. Typical day in guidance, busy.
And I believe I was in second period teaching class, and Mr. Egan, who doesn't teach here any longer, but he came, kind of came up to the door, knocked and said, pulled me over, and said, a plane just hit the trade center.
I had just finished with an appointment with a student, and I was walking her out to the main area in the guidance area, and all of a sudden one of the secretaries from the main office came running over and said that a plane had hit the Twin Towers.
I was doing something in the main office when they had the TVs in there, and we saw the first plane go, and everybody's just staring at the TVs. Time kind of just stopped.
I remember standing out here at the corner of the weight room against the wall, and one of the history teachers had walked down and had said that a plane had hit the Trade Center.
And my husband sent me an email that said the Twin Towers had been hit.
It could have been a news helicopter or maybe a tourist plane.
We were all in shock and like, well, was this an accident? What a horrific, aviation accident. Perhaps there was pilot error or there was a mechanical error, but never in a million years did we think it would be a terrorist attack.
Between periods, I went down to check in the media center, and because we didn't have TVs back in the room back then, and that's when they were showing the footage, and no one was really sure what was happening, and that's when the second plane went in, and I watched that, and it instantly,
there is more and more fire and smoke enveloping the very top of the building, and as fire crews are descending on this area, it does not appear that there's any kind of an effort up there yet. Now remember, oh my God.
Oh my God.
That looks like a second plane.
I did not see a plane go in. That just exploded.
We just saw another plane coming in from the side.
We had walked down to Mr. Ondash's room, because at that time he had a TV in his room, and he was the only one in this wing that had a TV in his room. And we watched it, and it was very clear that it was a lot more than just a little Cessna plane. And while we were watching it, we saw the second plane hit the building.
There was a pilot who flew. There was another one. We just saw another one. We just saw another one apparently go. Another plane just flew into the second tower. This has to be deliberate, folks.
Well, then the second tower was hit. Then we knew something was wrong.
He pulled into work right when the second tower got hit. He was listening to it on the news and then came in and emailed me.
in the past you hear, my generation heard people talk about our grandparents with Pearl Harbor, or my parents with the John F. Kennedy assassination, and I always like, oh, the world stopped, and I was always wondering what that might have been like. And when this happened, you knew that this was instantly one of those moments. The world had changed, things had changed instantly.
As if a demolition team set off, when you see the old demolitions of these old buildings, it folded down on itself, and it is not there anymore.
It should be. Thanks very much.
Completely collapsed.
And the reality we live with today is so drastically different in every possible way.
The world just kind of stopped, and people had to take a step back and see what in the world's going on.
Take immediate cover.
Can you tell me a little bit more? Well, actually, let's look at these live pictures at the World Trade Center. The other tower of the World Trade Center has just collapsed. You are looking at live pictures of the second twin tower at the World Trade Center collapsing as a result of the crash of an...
We did not know at that time if we had any parents actually in New York in the towers or at the Pentagon working. And we did, and sadly one of our families lost their dad and their husband in the towers.
As time went on, I remember playing more and more of the goodbye phone call messages that were left on people's machines for spouses and family members, that, you know, the reality of this is the last conversation I'm ever going to have with somebody.
At the World Trade Center, someone having difficulty breathing all night. Are they going to be able to get somebody up here? Well, of course, ma'am. We're coming up to you. Well, there's no one here yet, and the floor is completely engulfed. We're on the floor, and we can't breathe. Okay. And it's very, very, very hot. Hold on 1 second, please. I'm going to die, aren't I? No. I'm going to die. Ma'am, say your prayers. And we're not going to die. We're going to think positive.
Well, it's sort of strange now. I sort of look at this two different groups, I guess. You have the students who are in school today, and it's strange for me because as important as it was for me, it's like studying Pearl Harbor. So a lot of students who are here now because it's might as well be black and white photos. They didn't live it, they didn't experience it. The students who were there in that day and age, in that moment, I had students who had family who were in New York, students who were terrified of flying on airplanes again.
The big thing is, you know, you want to live your life, you know, like we can say, oh, live your life like it's the last day, like what would you do, and, you know, take some chances on things, because you don't know when that last minute's gonna happen. But, you know, I think you'd enjoy the company of your family and your good friends as much as possible when you have the opportunities to, because it, you know, like we saw in that instance, that a lot of people's lives changed on that day.
Something that we feared every day. And so I think about how even in the elementary schools they have to do these mandated drills, which creates the reality that it could happen anytime. So I think even a place where it should feel like you're going and you're 100% safe, there's kind of like it's overshadowed by a strange fear that I think we live with in America all the time now. And that is, I wish kids could experience what it was like before then, before there was like a profound fear of other people.
Unfortunately, the country that we live in is very much different since 9/11, and we live in fear maybe a little bit too much, but stepping back and realizing that this is a phenomenal country, and we need to be respectful and kind to those around us all the time, despite differences.
I would encourage all of us to do our part to keep peace. That could just be peace with our friends, that could be peace in our families. We all have to do our little piece. It doesn't mean we have to conquer a world peace, but, you know, our little, you know, just in our teams, in our classroom, in our families, with our brothers and sisters, with our wives and spouses and boyfriends and girlfriends, because that's where it all begins.